Here we're talking about measures of central tendencies, and we're going to define four different measures. So I'm just going to write those four down and show you what we're going to label. So the first one is population mean, and then we're going to have a sample mean, median, and then a mode. Okay, so population mean, we're going to label that as a weird symbol that you may have not seen before, but it's called mu. It's kind of just a slanted line with a couple squiggles at the top. All right, so that's the population mean. Anytime you see this symbol, it means that it's referring to the mean of an entire population, not just a little subset of the population. If you want to refer to just a subset of the population, then you would want to look at a sample mean, and that's written as X bar. So a quick example of population mean, take for instance this class. There are males and females in this class. That comprises of the whole population. Whereas if I wanted to just look at the females only, that's a sample of the whole population, so I would use X bar if I just wanted to look at a subset of the entire population. The median will be labeled as M, and the mode we'll just leave written as mode. That's not that big of a deal. So the easiest way is just to show you a simple example of how to find the mean. So let's look at a real easy example here. Example 1. Suppose you made an 80 on exam 1. And 90 on exam 2. What is your average / mean? All right, so the way you do that is you add your two exams together, and then you divide by the total number of exams. So let me show you what I mean. And I'm going to leave some space over here because I'm going to write something else. But I'm going to start right here. So I made an 80 and a 90 on the exam. Then I have to divide that by the total number of exams that was given or taken, which is 2. So you add those together to get 170 divided by 2, and that gives you 85 to be your average. So what did I do here? If I were to write it in words, what did I do? So on the top, it's the sum of all exams. And here I'm going to say / observations because it's not always going to be exams. So more general observations. And then the bottom is the total number of exams or observations. Total number of exams. Okay? So that's what we're doing when we're doing this. So let's look at a little bit longer example. And this time we're going to suppose exam 1 scores are, and I'm just going to write them out here, 74, 51, 95, 70, no, excuse me, 57, 64, 17, 34, 55, 42, and 81. So we're assuming that this comprises of the entire class, which means the population. What is the average / mean? So we'll do the same thing. that we did up here. It's just a larger, it's just more data. So we would sum all the exams, and here I know I'm working with the population, so I'm going to label it as mu. Mu is equal to, now it's the sum of all the observations or exams here. So I'm just going to write them out. I'm not going to read them all again. But just for the sake you have them in your notes and easy reading later on, I'm going to write them all out again. So now we have all those written out, and it's divided by the total number of outcomes or exams in this case. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. So that equals 570 divided by 10. And that's equal to 57. It's a little blurry there. That's 57. All right, so in general, when we're dealing with the population mean, I guess you can call this the short definition, it's labeled as mu, and that equals the sum of all the observations divided by capital N, which is the total number of observations. So this is just a, it's a, if you've never seen this before, this E-looking character, it's Greek for, but that's what that's what we call the sum. So we're summing all of these, and all this xi, that means summing all, this is all observations. So this jagged E here means the sum, and this xi means of all observations. And then this capital N, it represents the total number of outcomes or observations. So on the top is what we're looking for, and the bottom is the total number of them. So the big thing to take away is to know when you see mu, you're dealing with a population. So next, we want to look at what a sample mean is doing. So for a sample mean, we'll just look at an example, call it example 3. And we'll say find a simple random sample of size little n equals 4 of 4 scores from exam 1. So all this is saying is to pick 4 random scores from the entire class, and I want to know what their sample is, or what their average is. And this could be based on any type of criteria, if you want to just pick certain criteria, or if you just want it to be completely random. And it's important to learn the difference between the population and sample populations now. Excuse me, the population mean and the sample. It's important to learn the difference between the population mean and the sample mean now, specifically the what they mean and the symbols that represent them. So let's say that I randomly chose, those randomly chosen numbers are 74, 57, 81, and 95. So these are 4 random scores from the entire population, 10 of the 10 total scores earlier. So refer back to the first page. We label sample mean as x bar. And I'll write the real formula in a minute. But for now, x bar is equal to, and it's the same type of thing that we did earlier. It's all the observations on top, which is 70, all these added together, just these 4. and then it's divided by the size of the sample, which is 4 here. You add those together, divide by 4, and you get 76.75. So you can see that when the actual population mean or average is 57. But when we take this sample, it's almost 77. So that's something good to keep in mind also, especially as we progress. We want to know these values, and we'll dig deeper into what all these mean exactly. So just taking a sample of a large population doesn't accurately represent what the population is. So we have to be careful when we're dealing with statistics. And so, for example, if you take the entire U.S. of, say, 400 million people, and there's a survey done of 2,000, that's not a very big portion of the population. So that survey could be very misleading or misrepresentative of the entire population of the U.S. All right, so let's move on now to the median. Remember, it's labeled as M. The median is the value that lies in the middle of the data. All right, and I should say the value that lies in the middle of the data arranged in ascending order. And that's important. You have to rearrange the data in ascending order and then find the number that lies in the middle. So example 4. Find M means find the median. And here's part A. Let's look at 7, 3, 11, 4, and 2. And this is I'm just going to do a couple examples so you get the feel of how to find the mean. The median. So I have this set of data, and I want to find the median. So the first thing I have to do is arrange it in ascending order, so smallest to largest. So that will give me 2, 3, 4, 7, and 11. All right, so with larger data, computers are super helpful to do this, but for smaller ones, we can just do it by hand. The easiest way I found is just start from the outside and count in. So 1, 2, and both of them wind up here in the middle at 4 when we start both ways. So that means M is equal to 4 here. All right, part B. Let's try this one. 12, 8, 7, 4, 9, 1. First thing we have to do is arrange it in ascending order. 1, 4, 7, 8, 9, and 12. So if we start by counting from both ends, there's 1, 2, 3, and they meet right here. So both of these numbers are in the middle. So what do we do in this case? Over here in part A, there was a number directly in the middle. So what we do in this case, when we wind up with two numbers that are directly in the middle, you take the average of those. So you would say M is equal to those two added together divided by the total number that we added together, which is 2. So that equals 7.5. And that's how you find the median. And the last thing we want to find is the mode. Mode is the most frequent observation. And the easiest way to do this is just to look at another example. Call this example 5. And we'll just simply say find the mode. And here's A. So mode means to find the one thing that occurs the most. So 0, 0, 0, 0, 1, 1, 1, 3, 4. So if you need a second to pause to make sure you get those correctly. So you come in here and you remember mode means the most, which one occurs the most. So you see that you have 1, 2, 3, 4 zeros, 1, 2, 3 ones, 1, 3, and 1, 4. So you could draw a T-chart and do tally marks if you needed to, if it's a larger set of data. But here we can see that the mode is 0 because 0 occurred the most. All right, and if everything's a dead even and there's, so I'll just do an example, we'll make it a little easier. Let's say I had this. So everything occurs once, so there's no mode here because nothing is the most. No mode.